a document from the copy of, I've asked the village our captain to be part of the meeting. And of course, sincerely appreciate you being able to make our acquaintance. I think that as we continue to move through such review of policy, while we all have stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, Attorney Cross is really the only one that has uh, legal acumen that can help us guide and journey through the policies. Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. Good morning, Mrs. Stokes. How are you, ma'am? How you guys?
That goes into transportation. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Stacy.
You bet. That goes from this way.
Okay.
I'm gonna rearrange yours for a minute, because we're gonna look at this one last, because it wasn't, but if we get to it. So, yeah. It's just.
Because you did, so you don't have time to do today. Sit there thinking to myself. I'm so busy at work. I can do.
Thank you.
It's you don't know when you get insurance. Your weight December from January goes down like it's like a cliff. It doesn't go off. And then all of a sudden, hey. My sister said that. She's yeah. She's like, rain or yeah, this lights out. Yep.
Yeah.
You want to try to stop talking?
No, I'm like, do I start the meeting? Start.
Alrighty.
Second.
Yeah, as I mentioned, and we have the majority of our cabinet here to also assist with any and all questions about fun is fun day. I think Mr. Miles is extremely excited. I know that he's been chipping away at many of these policies as an whole, ready to rock and roll. So,
Okay, so the first policy we're gonna look at is the section 4,000 support staff, and the title is benefits. It's 4421.
So this was on our spreadsheet that we had, and a couple board members asked to just review it. They didn't give any insight as to why we should review it. They just felt like we needed to review it. And there's a copy in your. It's pretty short.
Can you clarify support staff?
Sure. Support staff are non-certified, they're classified. So secretaries, paraprofessionals, maintenance, ESE. What that? A behavior specialist, you know, administrative assistants for discipline.
Stacy, one thing I've thought would be super helpful to have is maybe just like a printed copy of the spreadsheet that the board members came up with.
I can share it with you too, and
Yeah.
But it's pretty big. Like I'm on it now. There are
Okay.
6 tabs.
Right.
So,
No, I remember it being complicated.
And so the one we're going is the middle tab, but I'll go ahead and share it with the board again.
Thank you.
And
I know I have it in my file somewhere.
yeah, that's fine. No, I get it. So and then and as we've gone through these, then I haven't deleted them. I've taken the color off of them. They were all color coordinated according to what section they were. And so as we've reviewed them, then I've taken them off that color, so that way you know they've been reviewed.
Yeah.
And we're actually we're moving along pretty good through these. So
Yeah, it seems like we've been able to accomplish quite a bit.
So on this one, what are the benefits that we're talking about for this class?
Well, once again, it depends upon, so So classified or support staff, it depends upon their classification. So
Uh-huh.
secretaries get some benefits,
Uh-huh.
ESE get benefits, paras, really their only benefit would be they get sick days, so many sick days a year. So it just depends upon their classification. And even within like secretaries, so we've got 260 secretaries, they get more benefits than what a 180 or 190 or 200 secretary might get. And those are all in. You can find those benefits in their in the salary schedule.
So this policy just
Not the
says
salary schedule.
basically we can give benefits if we want to.
Mhm.
And it sounds like we do for some groups and we don't for others. Okay. Any questions for anyone else? Or comments?
Are you sending the link over like now?
It just did.
Okay, just
I
check.
I think I just shared it.
Okay.
I'll try doing it a different way. Maybe that'll.
I got it. It came through.
It came through. Okay. Let me. See if we can get it. And go ahead. I
Okay.
don't need to wait on.
Okay, I think we're good with this one.
Okay. So we don't need to do anything, any action with that. We will keep that.
Next would be policy 4433 vacation, also board support staff.
Yeah, so this is for support staff too. Vacations go to those 12-month employees, those that are on a 260 calendar. They don't get paid those out at the end. They roll over. They roll over into. Do they roll over into sick days? They roll over into sick days, so they don't roll over into more vacation. So if they don't use it, they put into sick days.
So on a per year calendar, how many days of vacation do they get?
It depends on their years of service or their experience.
So would we break it off like 1 to 5, 5 to 10?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's how they're at it. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. So the longer they're here, the more they get kind of incentive for retention. And this will make the board happy. They're pretty good at using them. Not a lot get moved over, which is what we want. I mean,
Right.
it really is. So
That's
So,
the question I was going to ask: is how many people are using?
oh yeah, they do, and you know they're very cognizant also of planning those out. So like Vicky wouldn't take them during open enrollment. She knows better than that, right? And so they're really good at planning those out. And then you know if like when Lori's out, we try to get coverage for that area. She's fine.
All right, Stacy, I've got the document.
Perfect.
Could you?
We're on the
run-
middle tab.
Which one?
Batch 1 meeting review. The middle tab
At the
at the bottom.
bottom, you look at the tab.
Batch 1 needing review. Got it.
Yeah. And we are down in row 42. This one is.
Stacy, has there been any thought, and maybe it's not an issue, so it's a problem,
42.
doesn't need fixing, don't fix it. Converting from
Okay.
sick days to vacation days, just general PTO, that way a person has a mental health day, they don't have to worry about mental budget,
I should
say I'm sick or.
Yeah,
Wait, no.
you know, and they also get personal days.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they'll use those
Okay,
for.
I'm
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, it may not be a problem. I'm just seeing that in the private sector, that's.
Private sector would decline.
Well, we pretty well gone to
Yeah.
strictly PTO with the exception of bereavement, we have a separate bereavement.
Yeah, and that I don't know if that would because that's come up in the CBA too, and so.
Do we
You might be cracking open that can of worms just a
Well,
little bit.
I was gonna say, if it didn't broke, you know, you got a cultural issue. too,
Right.
and you don't wanna
Right.
create a problem if you're not fixing it.
And you know, I think in this day and age, I think it's recognized that if people have that, they need that mental break. I think it's being recognized more and more that really is a sick day.
Do we reserve the right to, when we roll over that paid vacation to a sick day, we do reserve the right as a board to say, hey, let's say you have 1 day left, instead of rolling over to a sick day, can we hold that for another mental health day or another personal day?
No, we've never done that, and you know, and you know as well as I do, you got to be really careful because if you start doing one day for one person, then you know it might turn into something else. I mean, you got to be really
Right.
careful. So it's got to be something that's in writing. But like I said, I think in the last few years, there's been so much that people understand that you know if I'm completely drained, I mean that is a sick day for me. If I can't function because
I'm just.
And
I'm
you're
just-
saying they
yeah.
don't have to have documentation.
they don't have to have documentation.
Okay.
We might require that after a few days. It's written
Okay.
there that after so many days
Okay.
that we can request that.
Okay.
I'm just thinking about the younger
Yeah.
people that are coming into the workforce.
Well, we
And I'm
see
just,
it. Yes.
I'm just saying that we may be something to look at to where we reserve the right to make that change if necessary to keep that retention.
So the board approves the benefit packages and that's all spelled out in the benefit packages. And that's where Stacy, we don't have the latitude unless benefit packages all change. That does happen at the board level, but that would be the only way that that could happen at this point.
The support staff get to redeem their unused sick days upon retirement.
The support staff does. So they get for their sick days. They are allotted some. There was a time that there was a buyout, and you remember that was after I got it. That was before prior to me getting here. Yeah, I think I missed it by a year or two, and so now they get 70 days of their sick days. They get that as a severance. We call it, which is really weird too, because in the private sector it's totally different. But even the legislature calls that a severance day that they get paid out their sick days. Up to 70.
At their daily or at their?
They get
half
so
a day?
secretaries and ESE they get $50 a day. Teachers, administration get $35 a day for their 70. Yeah. We have a few people that were out that are still employed with us before that severance, and so they'll get all of their days at their daily rate.
Any other questions, comments about this one? Okay, we'll move on.
Just to let everyone know, John was saying that this one needs review. I said discuss. Kim had said needs review. I'm like, wait, things are changing. Is that you, Stacy?
Yeah, I just changed. I'm sorry.
I'm like, no, I'm good. You said okay, and no comment by Austin. Just FYI.
Thank you. And Michael, as you get into this, then you guys receive the link. Feel free to add a comment for your name.
I was
As
just
you,
thinking about that.
okay, yeah. If you
Yeah.
want to
Do
review,
you not have access to this?
I will. I'll discuss it afterwards, and
Yeah.
we'll just work all through it.
I can share with you.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and we could and afterward we could share it. I'm not too worried about
it may be easier for you just to when you get the email to review them. Then it'd be the same. But of course, adding your comments it would be useful for us
That's
to
that
see.
call. That's people have left.
They do. Do I need
Oh,
emojis
okay.
for you?
My point was simply the ones that wanted
Yes,
to review it aren't here, and so they may have additional.
they may. Yes. Yeah. No. Thank you. For
Yep.
bringing that up. Okay. Next, 4436 personal leave with support staff.
Mhm. And so this goes to what Mr. Cross and Mr. Elleriega asked about earlier about they get 3 personal days.
Uh-huh.
Personal days, we don't even ask them if they need 4. We'll chase them down and call them and say, hey, I'm going to take a personal day today. And it could be want to go shopping, or it could be just need a day off. So, or I want to go on a field trip with my kid, or
What's typical for other school corporations?
that I couldn't tell you. We are meeting with.
Similar size to us.
Yeah, I've got a meeting with somebody later this week, and that might be something I can ask about benefits and about about salaries and things comparison. So so that can be something I can ask. I only know because I worked in one other. Actually, I worked in 2 other districts, I guess, but I don't know for the classified staff or the support staff what they get, but. And then personal days generally roll over into 6 days as well.
And this says if it's approved by the superintendent. I mean, is that just, do we just throw that in? I mean, is there a time where he could say, no, you can't take a personal day? Or is that pretty much, have
I'm
you?
not sure Dr. Wright has his thumb on the pulse of the use
Yeah.
of personal days of the people. So
Good.
pretty
He
sure it
shouldn't.
is.
He
Morning doesn't get
shouldn't.
up and
So
start scanning
that's
and just taking a personal day and
Okay.
questioning us.
So that's just kind of like a buffer and
Probably, yeah.
just
Just kind of
an
yeah.
emergency
Well, and
situation or
And there has been
Okay.
talk, especially of butting those up, and we don't see a lot of that butting those up against.
Got to
the
remember
VA.
this.
Okay.
This
Right.
derived from the collective bargaining,
Right.
and so we had language in there talking about necessity, and we never really went to the mat on that. But we put it in there thinking that there had to be some kind of
Where we can draw the line.
leverage
Yeah.
Right.
retained by the administration.
Okay, makes sense. Okay,
So we will pass that one on.
Thank you for that historical reference.
I know that.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
And especially in the like year. Yeah.
the next is 4440, job related expenses with support staff.
Right, and so this, once again, there's not a lot of job-related expenses for support staff. So, there's no expectation for them to bring in treats for kids or
Okay.
to travel
That's
or
right.
things like that.
Mhm.
Of course, if we do ask them to travel, then I'm sure that they can put in their mileage and anything. But that for our classified staff really doesn't happen.
And I think maybe just the word may just says
Right.
we could, but it's not guaranteed. That's
You know,
kind of why that's
You don't know what's going to happen next month,
Right.
and so that gives us
Okay.
the opportunity to help them out with that if necessary.
Okay. Next, policy 6550, the travel payment and reimbursement relocation costs.
Right, and this was actually Ms. Swafford asked us to bring this, and you just approved the last board meeting the federal rate, and so what this will do then is this allows us to, and you've got a copy of our current policy there too, I believe. This allows us to just set it so whatever the federal rate is, we'll follow that. So, if they change it, we don't have to bring that back. And so you can see the changes. We've taken out some of the strike through. The strike through showed the change, what we've taken out, and the green shows the additions and the proposed new. So the one without anything on there is our current. And then I think it was the second one in your packet shows what we'd like to do to update that.
Now, our original one does not have an amount set for per diem rates. And I think the idea of us adding that terminology in for the federal rate for mileage was that we don't have to continue to look at this. But I'm worried that if we put amount in and we, as time goes, and
Right.
this creates
And so-
another situation where we have to keep coming back and reviewing this.
And we've had these rates for a long time.
Okay.
I mean, we have.
Yes.
The other note is they were in the admin guidelines so that they could be changed instead of in the policy.
Yes.
So if you prefer, we could just use the first sentence where it issues the federal issued rate, and then the other, we just address it in the admin guideline, which is where we've done it in the past.
That's what I would
We can
prefer.
add these
Yeah.
back in so that they match.
And it says in there,
We just have to approve this
Yes.
so that we can make the change in the admin guideline.
Because if you have it in writing and you deviate from it, you got to have
Right.
some evidence of all. There is probably rarely a commissioners meeting goes by that there isn't a waiver. They have it on too low,
right, because
175, and you can't go to Indianapolis and stay.
stay the night
anywhere.
there for less than that,
Yeah.
right? And so I think, we had that unless approved by the superintendent. But I think to Karen's point, to your point, Mr. Cross, if we move that to the admin guideline, then that kind
Yeah,
of
where it's been,
we
right?
can
Yeah.
adjust that.
I would.
What we
then.
did was when it was more, the superintendent just signed off on that claim
Mhm.
so that it showed that that waiver was approved by the superintendent. So it was
I like
much
that.
simpler at that point in time when that did
Complicated.
happen.
And for your information, I think this is important to say too. So let's say Karen is going to go to a conference somewhere, and so she just goes and then comes back and turns in her bills and whatever they are, we pay. No, that's not the way we do it. So she's going to be going to that conference, so she gives an estimate of what the hotel will be, what her per diem for food will be, what her travel expenses will be, and those are all submitted ahead of time, and then she turns in her receipts. to try to match those. And, I'm sure if there's an overage that we can work that out, but we just don't like surprises.
The agreement is
The
current.
finance department doesn't like finance.
What's to change?
That's proposed. So we'll move those to the administrative guidelines, and then we'll bring this one back. Then we'll take that out and we'll bring this back to the next board meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
And just to add what Mr. Knox alluded to, with such hypothetical, after such documentation was submitted with forecasting of financial costs to said
What is that?
conference or typically the supervisor and or even I as superintendent or assistant have to sign off even before they're approved to go.
Right.
And then of course once they determine it, it's pretty simple. There's always checks and balances.
Great. Next is policy 1520.08.
And one point of clarification too, and this is just this meeting. So what we've done up until that policy were from that spreadsheet. So
Okay.
those are reviewed because there was board members that really wanted to go through these, but then we want to do updates as well. So
There's
we're
five
kind
and
of
five.
splitting them up.
Okay,
So,
so these are not on the spreadsheet.
Correct.
Okay, I was wondering.
Well,
whether-
and they may be down lower. I don't know.
And were these, why were these chosen, Stacy?
This last one was specifically asked by finance to go over.
Okay, yes.
So we could have those rates in there.
Uh-huh.
And then the next ones are updates from the legislative session from last year.
Okay, great.
So,
So 1520.08, employment of personnel for extracurricular activities.
correct. And once again, you have the one we have right now, and then the top one is the current, and then the one with the green on it were changes that Neola suggested from the session. And so they've taken out some things and they've added in some things. Some of it's just to a layman, which is me. It's just verb changes from must to shall, and like putting in a hyphen instead of having no hyphen in there. So some of these. So anyway, that's where we are.
So the big chunk is D though.
The big chunk is B, and then they took out a bunch of specifics from the IHSA there.
It looks like they added in marching band leaders, drama, they're kind of the creative arts sector.
Right.
Okay,
And you're going to see that in a couple others coming up too, like
Right.
the TTR, because we started getting PE credits, I believe, to marching band
okay.
for summer, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. So that shows you and I was in band and I was in wrestling. Now, band is nowhere close, but it is. different. I mean,
Give us your thoughts on that.
but you do march. I mean, you know what? I'm not saying that I wasn't tired after I went to band practice. We got a former drum major that just joined us, who would argue that point too.
Right.
So band is and even you don't even have to be involved in any vigorous activity to suffer a coronary issue
Yeah.
that would require some of this training that is listed here. So that's why a lot of this is including those jobs that are necessary to have that training as well.
I guess who checks that all these people have done taken these courses?
So athletics handles all of the athletes. The athletic department handles all of the coaches, and then we would probably take HR would probably take on those others.
Okay.
And just to talk about band a little more. Okay, so I'm thinking defibrillator. Is there actually a defibrillator out across the street?
Yeah, the traveling one.
They
that
do.
Athletics has that they
Okay.
have available during summer programs. So
Okay.
it stays in Tiernan Center so that it's close.
Well, it's in Tiernan Center though. I guess
but
I'm.
they can grab it. So I
Okay.
don't know if they grab it, but it is available to them
Okay.
to take out with them. So
Gotcha.
it moves with them. It moves wherever we're off site of a building.
So the idea is they're supposed to have the defibrillator with them at all times or whenever they're traveling or whatever.
In that
It's
same vein,
available. I don't know
Okay.
if they're supposed to or not. It's available
Just-
to
yeah.
them.
in that same vein, it's July and they're marching on the asphalt at the parking lot. Is it there or is it still in the Tiernan?
I don't know. I don't have
The
that
reason-
information this morning.
Okay.
Right,
I
that's
just
my
know
point.
when
It's like,
we're
because that's a
doing.
long way to go.
Yeah.
All the
Well,
way
and-
around.
And you know, with that training, they may receive the instruction to do that too.
Oh.
Sorry, that's-
their training.
Karen, I know that was a out of the darkness question, but going back to that, having seen them work and being present when they work, the time that it takes to go from there to there, unlock, come back, charge and everything else, could mean the difference between life and death, so to speak. So at some point, if we can find out if they do actually, when they're having practices, take them out there.
We'll find out, we'll find out what the protocols are, review those protocols, and we need to revise and include the protocols that the traveling defibrillators, and also I think with other
What's the cost?
athletics, such as football, the others are outside.
Right.
Can we find out the cost of a traveling defibrillator? Or
Yeah, I mean, we can find that cost out. Yeah.
if we need to purchase another one, we need to do that.
Reed
Kids.
provided, so Reed sponsored all the ones we have right now. So I'm not even sure if we know what the cost is, but we can ask.
And maybe we need to talk to Reed on making sure that they're compliant. The defibrillators are compliant.
They are all
Okay.
compliant. Our nursing staff does annual checks and we
Okay.
make sure that everything is up to date. So that's
And they
not
get-
an issue.
Yeah, they get swapped out too.
Right.
They do. Great.
No, it's, thanks for the discussion on this because it doesn't make any sense to have the training and then not have the equipment that you need with you, just making sure there's not a gap there.
And like I said, when they take that I haven't taken that training. A lot of times I will, just so I know what they're going through. But I imagine that would be brought up in that training. Yes.
Yeah.
It's pretty well.
They do everything.
They tell you how to do
Yeah.
it. It's hard- I would say it's hard to decide, but
Yeah.
for us.
And going along with that, I think it's important to understand too that all teachers have to undergo that every time they renew their license. And it has to be. You can't just take it online. Yeah, if you take it online, you can take it online, but then you have to go demonstrate it too. So it's got to be physical demonstration to somebody as well. So teachers are getting that.
As Attorney Cross said, it's voice activated. It actually tells you exactly how to place the battles.
It's monster.
You said it's monster.
It's monster.
That's funny.
Any other questions on that? Are we ready to take that to the board then on the 12th?
Yes. Next, new policy 1662.01, threatening and or intimidating behavior for staff members.
Correct. So this is a new policy. It's not a revised policy, so we don't have a current one. And this comes out of the legislation from last week or last year as well.
I'm surprised we don't have this, or is this under something else that it kind of fell under, or is it just? I'm just surprised.
We have bullying statutes
Bullying,
and harassment
maybe
statutes.
harassment.
A lot
Okay.
depends on what the legislature perceives as the problem they're fixing.
Okay,
And
right.
sometimes that's hard to figure out.
And then, like Ms. Elsmeyer just pointed out, near the bottom, the last full, or I guess it's the second to last full paragraph, talks about other policies that we would follow the same investigative procedures that we follow for those policies as well. So there is reference to other policies. Those generally go through a certain process, so we can investigate those. And we see more and more of this, so I think this is a pretty important policy that we have in place. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay to take to the next board meeting?
Yes. Next is policy 3120.08, employment of personnel for extracurricular activities. I know we're gonna look at a couple, maybe two more of these, right? Very similar to
They are, and they're very similar to the one we just had.
Different
a couple
class of
Go to,
code
correct.
words.
And these are updates. So they're not new, they're just updates to ones that we already have in place. And follow, they're very, very similar to the one we just discussed.
So the one we just discussed had like all of the list of offenses crossed out. Like,
And this one does too. The second, so the
Thank
first
you.
page is what we
Okay,
have, and the
thank
second
you.
page is.
I'm like, they're all there.
Yeah,
The last one was
Okay.
if we were employing members of the administration as coaches. This one is if we are employing members of the profession staff
correct. And I believe the next one
is non-employees or
is
something.
support staff.
Oh, support staff. Okay, so this class of people would be what's considered professional teachers.
Teachers.
Okay.
So these are certified
Certified.
and the others are classified, is that correct?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
did administrative, certified, and then classified. So they're really all the policies are right there together.
So
And
these are the teachers.
They're all the same. And this is just a different class. This is the certified class. So if you're a teacher. And there's no way to just put these together.
Well,
One policy
once again, the
with
issue
three.
is
We keep them all separate,
we
right?
keep them all
Okay.
separate.
Okay.
Even though they're the same. And we talked about this, and we can start putting a reference on there. So, like at the bottom, we could put a reference
To the other
to
two
the
policies.
other policies for the other classifications of jobs, and I think that would probably clear it up a little bit better. And I can even do that for this one for the next board meeting too.
Okay, I think that'd be
Okay.
helpful.
And so if I understand, this is merely to create a user-friendly experience for those who are searching for such. In other words, for certified staff members, they would look on in 3,000s, whereas the classified was in 4,000s.
Correct.
Oh,
So at the bottom of the last page, I'll put it above the plan is to put it above where it lists the Indiana code there, and I'll just put an asterisk for administrative staff, refer to policy, and then I'll have that policy listed for certified staff or professional staff, and I'll have the policy there, and for classified staff, I'll have the policy there. Does that seem okay? So we'll have those for first reading for the court.
And there's no change, just the same changes on the next one, which is 4120.08, it's the support staff, correct?
Yes.
It's all. And does this cover if someone is a coach, but they aren't employed by RCS in any other role?
I believe that would be, if they'd be considered support staff then.
Okay, they would be support staff, okay.
That's like a lay coach. We call them lay coaches.
Oh, yeah, and that says right here, yep. Any other questions or comments on 4120.08? Next is 5340.01, student concussions and sudden cardiac arrest.
So this, once again, we have the current policy, and then they've added some, and again, they've added the drama and music. I'm pretty sure you can get a concussion while you're the lead role in 12 Angry Men. Who knows what
That's a
happened?
great movie.
Yeah, great. Well, and that came to mind because my daughter was in that play. But anyway, yeah. So I think it's important to include those individuals who be participating as the leaders in those roles as well.
And then it's even opened up to, or the sponsor of the extracurricular activity in which students have increased. So that would be any other extracurricular activity where there's.
If I would think like if we have this might be a bad example, I don't know, but like if we had the homecoming games, bad example because there's 100 teachers there, there's personnel there, but if somebody's going to sponsor that event, then they should have this training as well, I guess, because that definitely would get your heart going. Changing clothes, the relays, whatever that
So
is.
one of the options on the first page is, moves from first to second page, is to give parents right before practice an information sheet on concussion and head injury. And it looks like we're not opting for that, or we're discussing whether we want to, but that information is received, because when I remember, at least from being a parent, when you fill out the athletic forms, they provided, I remember that information. Is that still the case that it's provided?
For the athletes, I
Yes.
believe it is. Yeah.
Okay. So, but we're not sure music and drama families receive that, or those, do they also have to have a physical to
No, they don't
participate
have
in?
physics. No, they don't have physics.
To participate in band or, okay.
What we can do is, and I guess herein lies the question, if it's the legal board, start the board to include such, um, leadership and policy, but such procedures, protocols, requirements of extracurricular, all blanket all extracurricular, whether it be band, orchestra, choirs, athletics, if there is a particular set of guidelines, procedures, and requirements, we can always include that.
Well, it does seem like we're requiring the coaches of music and drama, those categories now to follow these protocols for safety, but then we're not including the students and the requirements. I don't know. I don't want to make it more difficult for someone to join band either. But if we're also saying, hey, coaches, there's some medical things you have to be aware of and you're responsible for, but now we're not requiring students to pass physicals, and that is physically demanding, then are we?
Yeah.
I mean, we want people to be safe first and foremost, but I don't know.
I think
think
the-
of this as like an overabundance of caution.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know that I feel like being is that physically demanding that it needs a physical. I mean, if others feel like it is, we could talk about that.
I agree with you because for so many reasons, but also it may deter some from wanting to participate. And with so many of the students who participate in music, it is the one avenue that they have to stay engaged. It keeps them inspired to continue education. If you take that from them, you know, we may be looking at a failure in that student. Is there a cost that would go along with this?
Sometimes there is for.
Okay,
Yeah.
and again, that's
Physicals
another
are
one.
$10.
And the other thing I think of too is, you know, when you're an athlete, sometimes you cause your own injuries because of just the nature of the sport.
Mhm.
Where you think of band and drama, a lot of times those happen because of just an accident.
Right.
You know, and a student can walk down the hall and slip and bump their head, and the same type of accident, but we don't require physicals for that.
I think you're just opening up your case. Yeah, you're opening yourself up to a case of everybody's going to get injured. I don't think that's the way to go. Accidents happen. Yeah.
And-
I do appreciate your thought of consistency, though.
But we want
We're doing it-
somebody
we want
who is-
safety.
but
Yes.
we want whoever's there in charge of that to be able to understand what the symptoms of a concussion are,
Correct.
just in case that happens.
I mean, if you
And
would look, yeah.
to put that in their mind that they need to contact parents, they need to contact central office for those things.
Yeah, I just sports. You're going to get
A lot.
more concussions. You're going to have the more cardiac
Because
arrest.
of the nature of
The nature of the beast. So
I almost fell off the scaffolding one time.
almost.
was that an accident?
But if there is a way in which we can still maintain such participation and enrollment in those programs, but also just secure, we can always take a look at the protocols and make sure that they have what they need. Because yes, I will say that band, orchestra, and choir, the numbers have continuously gone up over the past year and a half, 2 years. Those programs continue to really expand.
I was a dentist the other day and went in to do some directing with their band. And I was really surprised to see the numbers.
Yeah.
I was delighted to see them. So,
But you didn't bring your horn.
my horn is actually being repaired right now, being tuned up. One question go along with this, and it'll be my last one. In the cases of band or orchestra or something like that, does the instructor or is there medical paperwork on file that they have access to know that this student may be diabetic or that this student,
Allergies, like
uh-huh.
I remember a kid in our band row, he got stung on the lip by a bee.
Mm.
so those things happen. I don't know what that.
So the medical information is in PowerSchool for
Okay.
each student. The other thing is during band camp and those times when they have a lot of things going on, the nurses are actually here on staff
Okay.
during that time, so that when they schedule band camp, that's something that we make sure that they're available
All right.
during that time. It's just the athletic trainer is actually here a lot at the same time as well. And so, yes, PowerSchool always has that available to them, and they do check that out when things are necessary to do. So teachers have all that access.
Can I ask a pretty cross quick questions? Shall. Is that might or must?
Well, shall typically will be construed as directly, but not suggested.
It's a nicer way to say must, right?
It's a nicer way of saying must.
Thou shalt.
Still must. You're gonna do it,
Those are my early
but in a
days.
nice way.
Shall equals must.
Okay. 8600 transportation.
Yes, and thank you for allowing us to add this one. It's Ms. Scalp asked us to bring this to the board, and that's fine. So you can see I've given you our current one, and then the one with the pink on the front page is the one that we would like to suggest, and there is an addition. Major part of that is the addition, and so Ms. Scalp and I went through this actually today. Took out some of the things that we had already had that really don't pertain to us, and some of the things that are mentioned earlier too. It was a little redundant, so we took that out, and then we added some language about the qualifications for transportation for some of our students.
And this is what it used to be. So when we went to Neola, there were a few policies that we didn't have anymore that we really needed. And so this is going back to what we should have had in those policies. When we did just a whole dump, we lost some things about practices and protocols that we need in writing. And so this is basically just putting that back in place.
So we copy and pasted the green part in.
Okay.
And who comes up with the 0.4 miles?
The board
What's
does.
What
So
do-
the
who does?
board does. So when we this happened, Mrs. Robinson and Mrs. Morganson were on the board at this time. The last time we made an adjustment, but when we needed to reduce costs in transportation, we did extend the junior high and high school walk zones, and that was the last time it was done. So it's been
So extended meaning
make
like,
them longer.
okay, so they've had, okay.
Yeah, so elementary, we kept the same at that point in time, but we did extend middle school and high school to what it is currently. And that does help you, overall, it saved us almost $400,000 to do that and a few other minor changes at the time that helped us meet budgetary needs and also still transport it efficiently and effectively.
How much pushback do we get from parents on that? Not much.
I mean, we didn't get much on where they are right now because it's not a very far zone. So
The additional one.
some things in Indianapolis are at a mile. For middle school and high school students, that is really excessive. And a lot of them ride city buses to kind of shorten that up. But it is one of the things that people do to save funding costs. The other thing that it just depends on your school district. So for us, we didn't get much flack because we didn't change elementary. Elementary is where you see the most walkers. High school kids get a ride, or we have a larger number than parents dropping off than we've ever had. So we still have we have almost 3,000 kids riding the bus every single day.
And-
So
And that distance is a lot shorter. For example, you could live in C Test, but you might still be eligible to ride the bus, so you don't have to cross 40. So that's taken into account as well. So am I right on that?
sort of.
Yeah. So
So the such hazards including state
State
highways, major intersections that.
so they pick up at Star and then
Okay.
they drop off at Test.
Gotcha.
So
Yep.
yeah, a lot of kids
Okay.
don't.
So we've been following these guidelines, they just haven't been in the policy, have they
Since
been
we
in it?
changed in Neola, correct?
Oh,
So
so
it's just since we
It's
changed
just
in
in a
Neola.
period.
So
Okay.
this is one that
Like a year.
are they, is this in the administrative guidelines? Or is it, no, okay.
it's in the policy because the board determined the walk zones. So prior to
Okay.
Neola, it was in the policy.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be in the policy.
Yes, okay.
But we wanted it in the policy.
I think
And is this, these are the guidelines we have set with our busing, correct? Okay,
Yeah,
our contract
we're
with,
following them right now.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It says that special purpose bus may be used to transport homeless students.
Correct.
Where do you take them?
When we go out of county, sometimes
Or-
we'll take a small bus instead of a big
So-
bus if we have to go to a
McKinney
bus.
Vento, if a student is homeless, then with McKinney Vento, they keep them in the same schools to not disrupt that. They're going through enough in their life that they don't want to lose their friends and their class and their teachers.
So this isn't student commuting to and from school. It's
Correct.
events and participation.
No, it's,
Oh, no.
it's to school.
Well,
So
you're
people
asking,
use-
if
yes,
they don't have
so
a
we
home,
have-
where do you take them?
So we have a couple of smaller buses. One is yellow, one is white. That has to. So if we have a student that is placed in a foster situation, then they may not be in the district of their neighborhood because you don't change their school because they qualify for McKinney-Vento. They're in foster. They're
Foster I can understand because there's some element of supervision. Homeless is,
homeless is the same under the law
Yeah.
for transportation.
but how do you do it?
So
We do a small bus that we have that picks up students that are just in special situations that will go to that particular student and then they'll go to the next one and they drop off at maybe 3 buildings instead of just one. So they're routed on a much smaller route that can take the students where they need to go because they're not a part of the neighborhood route.
And one thing that's really important is the definition of homelessness. So if I'm living with my aunt,
That's what I wanted.
I'm still homeless, even though I live in a home. Or if I'm living in a hotel, or if I'm living
So homeless is a broad brush.
right.
It is, and not everybody rides this special bus. It's only when they aren't in their neighborhood route. So if somebody lives with an aunt, they go to Star. They still go to Star because Aunt lives in Star. They'll get on their regular bus that's on Aunt's route because they're in the neighborhood. That is their route.
Yeah.
It just depends on if they are or not in that.
Let me also give another example, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, just from related experiences. So for example, Mr. and Mrs. Wright lose their home. They, as a family, have to move in with relatives in Hagerstown. Technically, we're all homeless. However, I'm still enrolled in RCS schools. And so while the Wright family is temporarily housed with relatives in Hagerstown, we're going to send a bus to Hagerstown every morning to pick up the Wright family and bring them back to schools in Richmond.
And other schools are really good with working with us too. So I know when I was at Test, we had a student that was living in Fayette County.
It's a long way.
In Connorsville.
Yes.
And so they were allowing us, they would meet us in Cambridge City, meet us halfway. And so it's, you really work with it. I mean,
Yeah.
what's best for the kid
Yeah.
is what you do. And so,
Because
so I really appreciate that.
to Mr. Mob's point, during that time, especially if you have young kids or any student dealing with such a traumatic experience, uprooting them from what is really the only consistency. I used to share this with students all the time. We'll give you three things every day: hot meals, safe roads, travel to and from school, and educators who care. Those are the 3 constants that you can count on Monday through Friday for the school corporation. So in these situations, uprooting students and just sending them to that temporary school corporation, which situation may change. The right family may be back in 2 weeks. And so it's just, but yes,
So these, when we had our work session and we were discussing transportation, and one of the things that was discussed were alternative transportation options. This is an example of one of those, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
What we're talking about is not optional. It's mandated by law
It is.
that we
Okay.
have to do
Yes.
that.
And there are
So
funds
while
provided
we're-
for that.
Okay.
sometimes. So the one thing that, yeah, exactly. So the one thing is that when we were talking about alternative, it was just options that we can
Okay.
consider. This is one we cannot
Okay.
optionally do. We have to figure out a way to do it. If a school doesn't want to work with us, the example that we gave, we still have to do it.
Okay.
So per the law,
I
there
don't
is
think
no
distance
option.
is.
It's
an
not
option.
that we have traveled to Indianapolis
Yes.
on a daily basis. Often we've traveled to Rushville,
Yeah.
we've traveled to Shelbyville. Like just in the last 4 years, we've had to go multiple counties over to meet these transportation requirements.
Yes.
And once again, it's the definition of homelessness. Like the layperson, and I would have thought of, homeless means you don't have a house. I mean, you're like living in the park or you're living in your car, and that's not the definition of homelessness in education.
We use last known permanent address, and without having a permanent address, due to whatever problem may have come up to cause them to have to live within an hour on in Fayette County, and then move to Rush County and everything else. Something happened that they lost their last actual permanent address, even if they've got, food, shelter, and clothing every day and warmth over their head, they're still considered technically homeless. So
We sold our house and didn't have one to move into. I mean, it's, by our own choice of circumstances, we were homeless.
You're homeless.
But we were fine, and so I'm sure that's just another.
And under the McKinney-Vento law, if a family lacks fixed, regular, nightly residence, that's the definition of homelessness.
And we'll see one family broken apart, even where you'll have students in different locations. You have different family members with friends, and so like Dr. Wright said, we need to help those kids out as much as we can.
Absolutely.
Even without the mandates that.
I guess I totally agree with you. We definitely help out the kids no matter what the situation is, because ultimately the best place is in the school, learning, being around their friends, being around that social environment, but also having that protectiveness. My question to you though is it the correct way of how many kids are in this program? Are we allowed to know as a board?
that's subject to change on any given
Yeah.
I mean,
day.
is that, I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
And it could be
And on a yearly basis,
it could be a couple days or it could be months. I mean, you don't.
Okay.
But once if the family notifies the school that they are homeless and qualify under McKinney-Vento, if that situation changed, maybe 2 weeks later, they still qualify for the rest of the school year under that.
So it's for the
McKinney-Vento.
school year then. That's okay.
Correct.
Because the situation may continue, it's fluid, but not just fluid.
And I'll tell you, this is something else that has nothing to do with this, but once again, it's personal. The way we find out as a school, I mean, sometimes
I know.
people are embarrassed about it, and so they don't share that. And we'll have teachers tell us. We'll have people call us and let us know. And thank goodness they do that because we can get help for those people. So I appreciate that.
And at times there's challenge because the families are reluctant to admit. And when we see such accommodations very, they'll say, hey, we can get it done. I know that with the new mandate that has come from the current president's administration regarding the immigration, customs and enforcement, the ICE experience. So there's a lot of anxiety right now that it's going to be interesting to see how some of this plays out.
Well, I see the city is doing this, I think, an annual, Larry may know more about it, its annual survey of determining the number of homeless individuals. And they just released, I think, 23, and there were 86. And tracked it into where it had over the 4 years, and it's almost doubled.
In 4 years, that number's doubled. Yeah.
And they're in the process of doing this year, so it'll be released next year.
What do you classify as homeless?
We go on two different things. One is without a permanent address, and then without a settled structure that they can rest in. A known settled structure, the stairwells at the parking garage does not qualify. So it's one of those, and it's I was in a meeting about this yesterday, and this has nothing to do necessarily with this, but then it has something to do with it. The number of those individuals out there, including those families who parents in particular choose not to take advantage of options that they have to be put up in a hotel for an unlimited amount of time or something. They would prefer living in a tent in the woods. This is why we have settlements out on the east side. You know, we put them up in hotels and gotten food vouchers and everything else for them. And then the next day, they're back in a tent building a fire in the woods, you know, in the back, because that's a preferred choice of theirs. So it's the struggle and the battle that we continue to fight.
I would say on average, we have about 40 to 60 students on our McKinney-Vento list
On a yearly
on a
basis.
yearly basis.
That's probably a much broader definition than
Correct.
what that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes. Thank you.
Stacy, a question real quick about page 2. Though everything removed, but the green X's, that first line stays, correct?
Correct.
On each of those, just all the extra stuff that was redundant is removed. Okay, great.
And thank you, Karen, for helping me prepare this.
Guys, any other questions or comments about this one? Oh, great.
Told you we should have brought about 10 more.
Well, next time. What is the load of looking through these? Like, how far are we getting, Stacy? from-
So you can see on
Well,
the.
it's cool. Yeah.
One of
It
those
seemed
lines
like
in the international flight showing.
I know we're making
those yards.
the tally chart. That's
So we have I don't know, 41 to for the what you guys want to review. We're halfway through. It looks like
halfway through.
Yeah, so we
Okay.
go up to 82. And if you know, but like the last one, there's no some of these the board member who asked to review them are no longer
Right.
part of the board, and everybody else thought it was okay. So those we just
I would
not worry about.
Yeah.
So that'll shorten that up a little bit, and
Yes.
then legislative session, you can actually you as a board have access to that.
Okay.
So if you have your computers open, I can tell you how to get there.
Could you just send us the link by any chance?
You still have to log in. You still have to
Okay.
authenticate.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's not open to the public.
Okay.
But if you look under draft, actually, if you look under, if you go hit policies, the arrow down, and go to policy update, and then go to 2024, and it has there are 4 different sections that have
New.
So I don't know. We
Okay.
can I can give you a report on that. I tell you how
But
many-
no, I don't want you to mess with. I just kind of want an overview of my
Terry
lines.
Spradlin's annual or weekly updates is very helpful.
Oh,
He'll
yes.
give you 5 minutes of the top 3 points he thinks.
And he sends them
ISBN.
to us.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
you also get the bill follower.
They even have a video associated with it now. Mr. Pratt, Pratt put some video together, somewhat highlighting.
But we talked about it at the county. I think it's important here. School
The
corporation,
rather
if you get them for participate, let our legislators know that, you may get pushback, because legislators are political people, so they may not understand why partisan school boards is a bad idea. But
So, Stacy, some of these will come before the next board meeting, depending on whether there's change or not, correct? And the ones that have no changes will just,
Yeah.
so
I think
you'll
there
bring
were-
those for the next 4. Does that include the transportation one? Okay. And then can you send me the transportation one electronically too, so I can share that with people who aren't here? 'Cause I think
Yes.
that was part of the ones that you sent.
Yes.
And then can we go ahead and schedule our next meeting? And has this been once a month, correct?
I believe so.
And it's typically been on a Tuesday.
And usually about 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Fine.
So
Maybe the end of February.
the 18th, we have strategic planning,
I'm not available.
and the 25th is National Honor Society. What about the 11th?
I can do that.
Tentatively.
You say February the 11th.
That's just an evening at Tuesday where we don't have another.
I am not available that morning.
Okay.
I'm doing mock interviews at the high school.
Oh,
So.
nice. Okay. So let's look at a Thursday.
We do the 27th.
The
13th
20,
is out for me, but
the 20th or 27th?
It's 27th.
27th.
Not available for either.
you know, I'm loaded there, but I will make
Okay.
room for
No,
it.
we can keep looking here.
You're loaded.
What about
Go to the Thursday.
what about the 13th?
There was nothing. I didn't have anything. I was
Oh.
just kidding.
I was ready to move it. I don't know.
No, we're good. The 10th
27th?
27th.
at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Are you available that day?
I'll be out of town.
So what's the date again?
Okay.
You guys can.
February
celebrate
27th.
with that.
February 22nd.
Okay.
Ms. Elsmeyer, will you send out a
15th through the 22nd.
Ms. Elsmeyer will invite us all.
There you go.
I am not.
Most of my comments are on there.
Okay.
So
Okay. I'll
that
make
kind
sure.
of,
Okay.
if you could represent
Yes,
those comments, that would be great.
And then Stacy, maybe, I mean, we had planned to meet till 11:30 today. This is the first meeting ever.
I know.
I've been
Look at
watching.
us.
Maybe you could bring more next time. I mean,
Yes, we don't get to. We don't miss it. I mean,
we have
Keep it
11
simple, keep it
today,
simple.
but maybe we could go, 7 old, 7 new, something like that. See what you're feeling.
Hopefully by the 27th, it's like 50, 60 degrees.
It better be.
Hopefully.
Okay. And then if you can send Stacy at like a week ahead again, that worked well,
Absolutely.
and then I can send them to the board for
Absolutely.
an additional review. Okay. I think we're good.
All right.
I believe some of you all may be joining us next door at 12.
Yeah. Yes.
The AI tour.
Yes.
Yes.
And then Meridian after.
Yes.
I'll be-
Meridian Health Services.
Okay.
Let me know how it goes.
Okay. Aaron.
Actually, let me know.
Okay.
Let me know.
Yeah.
I gotta go back to the.
All right.
Gotta go back to the.
Yes. I'll see you there. Yeah.
You have to go to the and then
Dealing with.
no, I sent you up. So if you just put in Westview. Most of the last one.
Dr. Wright, you have one. Yes, sir. Before I leave. Yeah, we can shut them off. All right.
Yeah, I guess we're seeing guys. March 10th through the 25th.
Ooh, that's when you're going.
I'm
You're like, you are checking it. Well, you know the weather is going to be much nicer than.
Yeah.
I swear, every time we go on a trip on spring break, it's like the place we go to is like the weather is colder than normal, and then here it's like 75. You know, it's like sunny and a beautiful week in Richmond. No, I don't think we're gonna have nice weather then. You're gonna have a great time.
I'm just excited about it.
Jenny and I are
Yeah, it's
Stops.
Yeah.
Summer.
the kids wait. I love her. I love her. Love
Say
it.
it's nice to have that.
Especially my
Right. I've lived through 2 of those. Yeah.
Give me a heads up.
You're not even at the edge of the iceberg yet. You were just Michael, you were going to deal with coming for you.
And now you're.
Rick and I have also been vacation.
So
Seen all this
now
TV.
we're here we go again.
Yeah, it's now.
Needless to
It's
say,
in
we didn't have proper clothing pattern. He said it's like 30 and it's raining.
Mr. Cross, did you get my email? I know you responded. There was a personal matter.